Um, in the Capitol? Yes, absolutely. I had the pleasure of serving on the editorial board at the Capitol at that time with Rick and others, and it was an amazing experience. So at this time, we'd like to have our next speakers, Andrea and Maria.
Thank you. How did so much time pass so quickly? So many changes, so much left unchanged. There is still evil in this world. I saw evil in that courtroom, but I'm not talking about some lone gunman. I'm talking about the evil that speaks softly and carries a big checkbook. The evil that puts guns in the wrong hands in the first place. 30 years ago, we banned assault weapons and gun deaths plummeted, but evil is still here. The ban expired, and since then, this evil and greed has made firearms the top cause of bleeding for pregnant women, the top cause of injury and death for women at work, the top cause of injury and death for their children. So we can't give up. Organizations that championed firearm safety saw their evil opportunity and converted dark money into private jets and Armani suits, into walled compounds and luxury yachts. And politicians learned to profit from this dark money too. They hang on to this money train, to this lifestyle for dear life, for our dear lives and the lives of our dear ones. Evil is more profitable than it has ever been, but we won't give up. Gun violence victims are all around us. None of them can give up. We don't have that option. But there is still hope. Another example of progress on safety is drunk driving, which changed our country thanks to an organization called Mothers Against Drunk Driving. The alcohol industry swore we were restricting liberties, interfering with law-abiding adults, pulling over the good guy with the beer. But we raised the drinking age anyway, and we lowered the blood alcohol levels too. We saved lives, and the alcohol industry is doing just fine. But MAD never gave up. Likewise, the gun safety movement is making progress too, with red flag laws, better background checks, concealed carry restrictions, and the first federal gun safety law in 30 years. Maryland has a gun safety governor. We defeated the NRA-backed incumbents in my district too, and replaced them with gun safety candidates. We are tired, but we can also seek inspiration from the civil rights movement. Every inch of progress these selfless, tireless advocates has made to bend that arc of the moral universe toward justice has been met with school closings, redlining and homeownership, predatory loans and financing, poll taxes, gerrymandering, cherry-picked voter ID requirements, book bans that silence their stories, and even billy clubs, tasers, and bullets. They haven't given up. We won't give up. We will keep going. But that's not all that's happened in the last 5 years. We can take a pause like we will today. So much love has found its way back into our lives. New babies, new jobs, new marriages. We will always miss the people we lost, but happiness, joy, and appreciation hasn't given up on us. We appreciate the old and the new friends, the supporters all around us, and the public servants who are with us in this fight, willing to put their own desires for luxury yachts in the harbor right here aside, and instead to roll up their sleeves with us and save lives. We won't give up on safety, but we won't give up on love either. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm Maria Hyacin, and Rob was my husband. And I want to thank everybody for being here today. This is a meaningful, I believe we can now call it annual. It is the third year, I believe, we've been on this spot, on this date. And so I'm grateful for those of you who are here, those of you who've organized it, and eternally grateful for those who saw that this beautiful monument happened. I got to tell you, I'm also extremely grateful that it feels so much better this June 28th than it did that one in 2018. My heart aches for those, the recent victims and families of the other mass shooting in Annapolis. But I am here to tell you that strength, love, patience, and time do make things better. And it is a journey. It's also important to note, as meaningful as this day is to my family, there is something about June that will always be different, and that's just a reality. What was once the month, oh, the kids are out of school, it's a wedding anniversary, a birthday, an unfortunate birthday for me. Now there's just this sense of doom that sort of starts to haunt us. It manifests in, say, a call from my oldest asking if Nona can babysit, that sort of trails into, I really wish I'd let Dad teach me how to go fishing when he wanted to. A call from my youngest in Richmond saying they couldn't make it in June after all, just couldn't quite bear the traffic. Not this month, Mom. And my middle, as Rob called her, the left-handed one, just couldn't quite get out the door for work and had to call and talk for about 20 minutes about why it just felt so bad. And so, that is what we do. We talk. We cry. We laugh. And as Andrea said, we have hope. I do believe there have been 311 mass shootings in this country this year. It's awfully hard to stay hopeful, but I'm begging you all to try and to do what you can. Thank you.
I'd also like to acknowledge Delegate Heather Bagnall and Anne Arundel County State's Attorney Ann Colt-Litis. And thank you all for your words.
Our next speaker today reminds us that the tragedy of gun violence is closer than any of us ever wanted to be. We will now hear from Christian Segovia Sr., who lost his son Christian just over 2 weeks ago on Sunday, June 11th.
Thank you all for being here. My name is Christian Segovia Sr. I'm the father of the 24-year-old Christian Segovia Jr., better known as Chele for his friends and loved ones. He was assassinated 2 weeks ago, cowardly assassinated 2 weeks ago in the Annapolis shooting. There is nothing you can say to the families to console us. How can you explain to a 6-year-old that his beloved father all of a sudden disappeared without a trace, that he can no longer see him, but his father is everywhere, that his father loves him, but he wants to physically see him? How these surviving relatives can go living by inertia, feeling the emptiness and the sadness of what the future will be without our loved ones. It's against nature that a parent bury his kids. The pain is indescribable. I don't wish the pain, not even on the assassin of my son. The assassin has multiple victims, but the assassin is a victim himself. The assassin is a victim of the teaching of his parents. You know, he hate people because he was taught to hate. He's a victim as we are. The assassin has multiple victims because he not only killed the ones that are laying on the ground, on the floor, they kill all of us because we are not the same. We're not whole anymore. We feel the emptiness. You know, I feel the sadness. You know, every time as an adult, I know what happened. I brought the ashes of my son into my house. But every day, I still wait for him to come back. Every day, I still wait for him to, that this is a nightmare and this is not true. And that hurts. But fortunately, we have no choice. We have other people to take care of. You know, will be cowardly on our behalf not to remember my son and not to try to do something good out of this tragedy. You know, the pain that we're suffering, you know, should be the last pain. You know, nobody else should have these feelings of pain that we have and sorrow because, you know, stupid, you know, senseless act of violence. When a baby is born, it's a blank canvas. He or she will be influenced by our thoughts and teachings. Let's teach them that this great country is made of people of different races, backgrounds, sexual orientations, religion, social status, and that we all need to accept, tolerate, and respect each other. Hate kills. Love unites us. You know, funny that now I know what happiness is because I was so happy 2 weeks ago and I not even realize it. When you guys go home, you know, look at your kids, you know, that's happiness. In material things, you know, with the little that I have, I cannot bring my son back and I would gladly give it away for him. But how many more tragedies, senseless acts of violence with extreme consequences we need to have for this to stop? You know, we as parents, you know, we need to teach the kids that this country is made of different people. But it's a great country, you know, and I still believe in the United States. You know, I came here as an immigrant, and I'm glad I did. You know, I lived the American dream. I was happy 2 weeks ago, but my son left us with a 6-year-old and a baby on the way, and they will be the reason of my happiness again. So thank you so much. You know, now I can tell you I feel your pain, all of you. I was always an spectator. Now I'm a victim too, and I know the pain. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your strength, Mr. Segovia. And all of those who have been victimized or have experienced gun violence, can you please raise your hand? Thank you. So I did that to illustrate the fact that, as Mr. Segovia said, we are all impacted, and we all experience the fallout of violence and gun violence. And so I want to acknowledge members of the Capital Gazette staff. Can you please raise your hand also so we can know you? Because it does take courage to also show up here today and be in this space. So we do acknowledge that and we thank you. So all of our speakers today have reminded us that as a community, we must stand together and stand strong. And we must also not only experience and acknowledge grief, but unite in that grief so that we can be sure things like this never happen again. But today's ceremony is not just about grief. It is about memories, and most importantly, it is about love. It's about how we go forward and draw courage and inspiration from these experiences and from those who've touched our lives and have made them better by their existence. And so we want to acknowledge their existence again with this ceremony. And in that spirit, we'll have VP Loggins come forward and share a poem that he has written for today's ceremony.
In remembrance, after the vigils, where mourners marched from St. Anne's Church to City Dock, cradling candles and their solemn lights, where they gathered at the red-bricked park to say condolences, remembrances, to offer prayers and hear a poem at the water's edge, where they held one another in a caught moment of togetherness that characterized the broken heart's response to tragedy. And where on Father's Day, our citizens would walk in grief again beneath the State House dome to the margins of the bay. What remains with us today and what defines our lives tomorrow is not the cold crack of the guns, blood spilled by hate, or the harsh desire for horror, but flaming candles whose white wax stippled these red bricks with love. Thank you.
Thank you for those words. It is now time to lay the wreaths in honor of those we have lost. Once the last wreath has been placed, we will pause for a few moments of silence. I'd now like to invite all of those who are laying wreaths to come forward as your names are called. Okay. So what we're also going to ask is that in this area we clear it a little bit so that the wreaths can be laid against the pillars. Thank you all. So you're gonna read.
The first wreath will be laid on behalf of the families who lost loved ones in the Capital Gazette shooting. It will be placed by Wendy Winters' daughter and grandson, Winters Lee Larka and Orion Winters Larka.
The second wreath will be laid by Bill Wagner and Paul Gillespie on behalf of current and former staff of the Capital Gazette.
Also, Rachel Patella and E.B. Ferguson.
Thank you. Rachel Patella and E.B. Ferguson.
The third wreath will be laid by Juanita Cage Lewis and Dee Goodwin from the Caucus of African American Leaders, who led the building and dedication of this memorial. They are joined by Laura Morris of Moms Demand Action, and they will place their wreath in honor of all those in our community who are impacted by gun violence.
The fourth wreath will be laid by Mayor Gavin Buckley and County Executive Stuart Pittman on behalf of the City of Annapolis and Anne Arundel County.
The fifth wreath will be laid by Governor Wes Moore, First Lady Dawn Blythe Moore, and Lieutenant Governor Aruna Miller on behalf of the state of Maryland.
Thank you. I would now like to invite Reverend John Crestwell, who was pastor and friend to Wendy Winters, to come forward and give a final word of blessing.
Appreciate it. It's good to be here. Thank you for asking me to share this blessing. I would like to begin with a litany of remembrance. It's by Rabbis S. Kamens and J. Reimer. Your response is, we remember them. Let's try that together. We. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, in the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, in the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, in the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, in the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, in the beginning of the year and when it ends, when we are weary and in need of strength, when we are lost and sick at heart, when we have joys we yearn to share. So long as we live, they too shall live, for they are a part of us now, as we remember them. Let us pray, meditate, or contemplate these words. Spirit of life, God of many names, we come now asking for your blessing on all those gathered here, and especially bless those families still grieving and wrestling with such tragic loss, and all the families in this state and nation and world who have lost loved ones due to gun violence. Teach us to learn to be more loving and compassionate. Might we learn to study war no more. Remind us that we are homoousios, all of the same substance, made by love for love. We give thanks for all those gathered here today to remember what is important to us all. We give thanks for the hands that organize this remembrance and celebration. We give thanks for those who work so hard to protect democracy and our First Amendment rights. And now, Great Spirit, send us forth on our way, remembering what we have experienced here today, to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly, to be courageous and of service to our community. Show us that justice, equity, and compassion are our way forward. Send us forth now. In the name of all that is holy and righteous, I leave these words. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Cresswell. I'd ask that you all please stand for the color guard. I want to thank you all for being here this morning. And as a reminder, these are 5 very real and connected human beings who are a part of this community. And a reminder that stories and photographs and depictions of our everyday life in cities and towns is extremely important. This concludes our ceremony of remembrance, and I want to thank you all again for being here. May joyful memories of those we love and those we loved bring us solace and inspire us to go forward and meet the challenges of building a better and more loving world. Thank you.
Great job. Thank you.
They said no, but okay. I'm gonna still hang around because I feel like people jump in. Yeah, I think they're thinking at the same time. Probably what it is. Yeah. Yep.